Hey everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the AusTILL Show. We are produced by Cade Claiborne, the man, the myth, the legend.
The guy that likes tomatoes as his favorite food.
That's incredible.
I'm about it.
Okay. We are sponsored by the Tennessee Ministry Network and TYM.
And nobody else.
Nobody else. No cool sponsors yet.
I haven't sorted through all my emails yet, but I'm sure they're lined up to sponsor us. So.
It's kind of like on Instagram. I'll get these like DMs of people saying, "Hey, do you want to rep our brand?"
Yeah.
I'm always scared of those. Of what. So they're like, "Here's our Instagram," and then you go on it and they got 3 followers. It's like this is a scam.
I think because I've posted so many pictures of food that the toilet paper companies are after me. So I'm pretty sure they'll probably sponsor us.
I hope so. What's your favorite toilet paper?
Cottonelle, without a doubt. The aloe infused.
Oh my God!
Because I'm telling you, it'll clean you up, but not only that, like it'll leave it refreshed. That was a shameless plug for Cottonelle to come on board.
Cottonelle, support us. Be our sponsor.
They got ridges.
Oh my God!
In the toilet paper. So
well, we will stop there.
Cottonelle, we love you.
We're waiting on your call.
We're waiting.
Well, today's episode is going to be focused on fatherhood. And I'm a father, you're a father.
We're fathers.
We've both been sons, and so we probably have a few things to say about it.
Oh.
You got some stuff?
A lot.
A lot. I will say from the very beginning that in no way, shape, form, or fashion do we assume or believe that we are experts. Brooks and I are both very much in the throes of parenting. I have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. How old's Griffin?
He's 3.5.
So very distinct at that age that the half matters.
It matters, and I'm just going to tell you, I will never write a book on fatherhood.
Okay.
So there you go.
So on that note, we're not experts, but what we would like to do is share a little bit of what we're learning.
Yes.
Maybe some of our struggles, and we hope that in the middle of all of that, if you are a young father, if you are a father whose kids are grown and out of the house, either way that you'll find some encouragement, or you'll at least be able to relate and identify with what we're talking about.
Take some pressure off yourself.
Yeah, so we're not speaking from having accomplished anything yet.
Yes.
We are speaking from living very much in the middle of fatherhood.
I'm very much at the beginning of it.
Very beginning.
Very beginning,
but I referenced it before. We are fathers, but before we were fathers, we were sons.
Yes.
And all I can think at this point in life is God bless my dad, because I was an idiot.
Yeah, my dad has actually called me an idiot before, so.
Big Donnie done thrown the smackdown.
There ain't no doubt about it. I know without a doubt I got on his nerves. So.
Well, I got on my dad's nerves very, very bad. And then I would be mad at him for getting frustrated with me.
Aggravated at you.
But now that I look back, he had every right to be completely annoyed and disgusted and roll his eyes and just walk away and like, I'm done.
He probably wasn't in the wrong whatsoever, was he?
No, not usually. So my dad and I, one of the things that we did together is we hunted. And it seems that most of the me annoying my dad stories are centered on the outdoors and my immaturity and
the great outdoors.
The great outdoors. It seemed in the outdoors, my fears and insecurities and all under that umbrella usually came out in full force. So just a couple of moments. My dad took me squirrel hunting when I was young. I was under 10 years old, and we went squirrel hunting, or maybe I was 10 years old. Anyway, we went squirrel hunting, and we're walking in this valley. You know, there's kind of some high hills, and squirrel hunting. You've got to be quiet. You
with a gun.
I'm holding a 410 shotgun.
And you're how old?
About 10.
Incredible.
Carrying it.
Incredible.
He's lucky he didn't get shot in the back.
That's right.
And so, you know, you got to be quiet. You're stalking. You're listening. And my dad, he would tell this story. You know, he's walking along and he turns around and looks back for me, and I'm like 50 yards behind him because there was a log that was like suspended in the ditch thing that we were in. and I had sat on the log.
Oh no!
Holding my gun.
Cottonelle?
And riding it like I was riding a horse.
So your dad was ready to leave you out there by yourself, wasn't he?
I mean, I wish I could remember the exact expression on his face,
Riding
but
a
I'm
log.
sure it was like, my gosh, what am I doing?
What is happening right now?
So another time, I got a little older, and we'd go deer hunting together. And
Hunting.
Of course, hunting. And we would climb, in the first few years we would deer hunt together, we'd climb in a tree stand together. We'd kind of sit in the same spot. It never failed. I'd be miserably cold, shivering, and wanting to go home. And he, of course, he's like an incredible hunter.
And you probably had been out there 20 minutes.
No, I mean, no time at all. We done walked in the dark. I'd stepped in cow patties, walking through pasture. I mean, I was a train wreck.
Train wreck.
Shivering. Wanting to go home. And he's just like, you're a wuss.
We ain't going home.
You're lame. And so we got a little older, I did, and he started letting me have a little more responsibility. And so that meant he would go to one spot and sit in his stand, and he would put me in another spot in a stand.
He was saying, "Get away from me for the time."
I mean, basically, he wanted to kill a deer, and
here's your own space.
and didn't want me distracting him.
You can.
I'm sure he's trying to prepare me for manhood.
Yeah.
So one of the times I was in a tree stand, and we were hunting in the afternoon, and as the sun starts going down, the coyotes start howling.
My God.
I mean, and it sounds. If you've ever been in the woods when the coyotes start really getting going, it's eerie.
It's literally like people laughing.
Yes, and like death. It just like I won't imitate the sound, but you get 10 coyotes
cutting up, so to speak.
Yeah, just cutting up and howling, and it'll make the hair stand up.
And how old were you then in this?
I mean, I was in my early to mid teens.
I mean, you were just you would be a little snack.
Yes, I wouldn't be nothing,
guys.
but I'm in a tree, I'm safe. And then, of course, when you're hunting, you know that deer tend to be seen most as the sun's coming up early, and then as the sun is setting. So the sun is setting, it's getting prime, like that prime 30 minutes or so of hunting. The coyotes start whipping, and I am terrified.
Yeah, man,
like scared to death.
You're filling up your underwear, aren't you?
I mean, I was absolutely
On the
mortified
verge.
because I knew that I had to come out of the tree, climb down the ladder, and go meet him. And bro, there's coyotes out here. So I start hollering, "Daddy!
Daddy!
Daddy!" I mean, I'm a teenager. And he said he was thinking, "Shut up, boy." He was sitting, he could hear me across the valley. "Shut up, boy."
Ruining the hunt for him.
The best time of hunting the whole day. We've been waiting for this 30 minutes. And you're over here hollering, "Daddy!" I annoyed my dad.
He didn't kill nothing that day, did he?
Neither one of us did. We didn't even see anything. One more story, and then we'll get off of that. My dad, now he's got, he would have to own some of this. He had a climber stand. And a climber stand is, it's two pieces.
Right.
And you hook it to the tree, and then you use it to literally climb up into the tree.
So
and
something I would literally never be able to do.
I mean, yeah, just to be honest.
Never doing that. Go ahead.
I mean,
We're not doing it.
So I'm a teenager. I'm probably at this point, 15 years old.
Best shape of your life.
I mean, I can do it. So he takes me to the tree that I'm going to hunt out of and says, "Climb it. I'm going to go hunt way over here. You climb it." And I'm like, okay. I had never practiced on a climber. I had never, I had no experience with a climber. And I get in the climber and I start climbing the tree. And I found it wasn't hard to climb the tree. I'm doing one thing at a time, like going up like a cinch worm. I get pretty far up in the tree.
I don't know what I don't know what a cinch worm is. Is that one of the worms that crawled the tree?
It might be an inchworm. I don't know. I probably said it wrong.
I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to get banned.
Please comment. Is it cinch worm,
I don't know what cinch worm is.
It's one of those that does this.
It's one of the ones whose body is shaped pretty much like mine, but it crawls up slowly. Go ahead.
So I get up in the tree. I hunt the whole hunt, and it's starting to be dark. It's time to come down. Well, you have to do it a certain way to climb down the tree.
Get down.
And so I started trying, and I found myself, instead of going down, I kept going higher.
Oh, no.
And I could not figure out how to get the stand to go down. And I just kept going higher and higher in this tree, and finally I just panicked. And I took the harness off,
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
You
at
had
this
given
point,
up-
the stand's like 30 feet.
You had given up hope.
I'd
hadn't you?
given up. I climbed out of the stand, wrapped my arms around the tree, and shimmied.
You look like Jack and the Beanstalk when they were trying to get away from the giant.
Listen, this was tore up.
I mean,
and
I mean, you were getting rocked by that tree, wasn't you?
and my dad finally shows up, and he's like, "Where's the stand?"
He didn't care that you looked like a scab.
No, he didn't.
All he
He said he said
Where's the
some
stand?
words.
I mean,
So he had to go back
He
at some
went
point and get his tree stand out
he
of
went
the tree.
in on it.
It was
didn't
like,
he?
well, you didn't teach me how to go down this tree. So anyway, I annoyed my dad. He had every right to be annoyed.
Oh.
Did Donnie ever
Oh
get
my
annoyed at you?
gosh. The first story I remembered when I was a kid, I was probably no more than 4 or 5 years old. We had a neighborhood yard sale. We had a yard sale that morning, and they woke you up at the crack of dawn.
Right.
And I specifically remember it because he brought me a gravy biscuit from Hardee's. Hardee's, if you're watching, that'd be a good sponsor.
Hardy sponsor us.
I love their gravy biscuit. But I remember he's like, "Hey, son, I got a gravy biscuit. Come on, get up." You know, it's still dark outside. I'm sitting at the table, I'm eating it. Well, the yard sale had ended at this point, and the women folk went to Walmart or somewhere like that.
The women folk.
Dad said, "Man, you're going to clean the shed out."
The shed?
The shed.
Okay.
Making sure that's what I said. So we're going to clean the shed out. I said, okay. So we get out there. Well, Dad had an old set of golf clubs, and I decided while he was cleaning the shed out, I was going to get out here and swing grown man golf clubs out here. Probably, I don't know, probably a pitching wedge or a 9-iron, something like that.
Right.
I'm out there swinging it.
In the garage.
Well,
You've gone out of the garage.
just outside the shed.
Okay.
So I'm swinging it as hard as I could swing it. Well, I turn around and my dad's like, he's like staggering, like he's fixing to black out. I had hit Dad upside the head, didn't know it. I'm talking about rocked him. He was out there like, I thought Dad was like having a heart attack or something. He was out there trying to figure out where he was at. I had hit him upside the back of the head with it.
He had a right to be annoyed.
He remembers it to this day. And I remember him grabbing that golf club. And, boy, what is wrong with you? Quit swinging these.
Right.
Didn't really, because I was so young,
Yeah.
really, I was just a little older than Griffin is.
Right.
Didn't really get on to me, but I know he was super annoyed and probably had a big old knot on the back of his head.
Of course.
But the most annoyed I think I've ever seen my dad is when he let me drive a truck of his for the first time.
Okay.
And somebody asked me, they said, "When did you have your first wreck?" And I said, "When I was 12 years old."
My gosh. Let's just pause for a minute. Every dad out there, you remember these stories, and you have a God-given right to
Yes.
retell them for the rest of your kid's life, even into adulthood.
Yes, Dad is gonna watch this and remember exactly what I'm talking about. But we were out at the ball field.
Yeah.
I played ball down at AUM, down in Montgomery, for you Montgomery folks that are just watching it. And we were in the truck, and I said, "Dad, why don't you let me drive the truck?" I'm about 12 years old at this point. Dad said, "All right. We're going to drive around to the batting cages on the other side of the park." And so I get in the truck, and I drive it, and there's a gate opening that you had to, and there was these two big old wooden columns, and then the gate was attached, big metal swinging gate.
Yeah.
Well, he said, "Make sure you got enough clearance." Well, so I'm driving, and I'm watching my side.
Because when you're 12, you know
When you're
what, make
12.
sure you have enough clearance
Yeah,
means.
I didn't have a clue what he was talking about. All I knew is I needed to get through this gate.
Right.
Well, the next thing I know, I hit something, not on my side, because I got plenty of clearance on my side. Dad is over there white-knuckling the truck. The truck wouldn't even hardly go forward. Well, I decided I was just going to go ahead and hit the gas some more. I hit the front end of that truck on that column, and I drug the column down the whole side of the truck, dented the door in so much that my dad could not even open his side of the door.
My gosh.
He said, "What are you?" He was gritting his teeth. "What are you doing?" Dad called me a moron. He said, "You moron." Called me a moron. He didn't mean it. He meant it.
Hey, man.
He had to climb over my side to get out. I literally just, and I never asked Dad to this day, but that truck ended up being my truck when I turned 16. It was an older truck, but that thing had a brand new paint job on it because he had to get it fixed. And I haven't asked Dad this, but I wonder if he told the insurance company I wrecked it. He probably didn't.
No, probably didn't.
But I think about stuff like that with Griffin because the other night Griffin was upstairs and I hear a boop, 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 boop coming down the stairs. And I thought, Griffin has done flipped down the stairs. All of a sudden, I hear a crash into the door. Griffin has went up to the bonus room, my man cave. You've been to my man cave. I got a surround sound, the subwoofer on the floor. Griffin has stuck his little cars down in the subwoofer.
Yeah.
Can't get it out. His Francesco Bermulli car from Cars.
Right.
So he decides to get it out. He's going to unplug it, take it to the top of the stairs, and throw the whole subwoofer down the top of the stairs. Gashed the wall up.
What'd you say to him?
I was like, ran around the corner. I go up there. He's at the top of the stairs. I said, "What are you doing?" He runs to the bonus room, gets on the couch, and covers his eyes. All I can see is his little teeth. He was going like this. And I had to discipline him, of course.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want him to get hurt.
Right.
But he had to know.
Right.
That.
And you'll tell that story forever.
Tell it forever.
You tell me a little about.
And that's one of the struggles because I don't want to you don't want to get on to the.
Right.
He's tough. So small.
It's tough.
You know.
So you told me a little bit about your first ACT.
Oh my gosh.
And so tell us about that, and then we'll dive into some of the details.
So I took the ACT. I think I took it 3 times.
Okay.
And the running joke, I don't know what the perfect score is, like 36.
Yes.
The running joke with my dad is Brooks scored a 36. All 3 of his scores combined. That's the running joke. I got my test results back for the ACT, and my dad looked at it and he said, "This is the dumbest score I've ever seen in my life." He said, "I think you might have got your name right." Then he starts comparing me to guys that he went to school with. He said, "So-and-so scored higher than that, and he was dumb as a rock." And he was dumb as a rock.
Well, thanks, Dad.
And then, a little bit later, probably Mom said something to him about it, and he was like, "Oh, you be all right. You just need to study a little bit more, you know." He was trying to make it right. But the truth is, my dad was right. I was dumb as a rock. And I had no business taking the ACT anyway. So.
My gosh. So our dads.
Which, by the way, my dad really does love me.
There's no doubt.
Great father.
If Donnie, if you're watching, you are the man. You're a great father.
Yes.
You've done an awesome job raising your kids. And but we all have those moments.
Oh, yeah.
As a dad, where something happens and self-control goes out the window. And you're just like, oh, my gosh. This is, how could you be so dumb?
Lose your mind. Like, Brittany's like, "Why are you hollering like that?"
Right.
Hey, you know, you just yelling for no reason, really.
I told you, I want to talk about fatherhood, but I also want to be a little bit careful because my kids know where my YouTube channel is, and they watch the AusTILL Show.
The last time I saw Kingston, he said, "When are y'all shooting another show?"
Right. So
he was ready for it.
So, I Griffin's not there yet. Maybe he'll never come across my YouTube channel. But, and by the way, if you want to watch the show, Jeremy AusTILL YouTube channel. Right?
Might as well plug that right now while we're at it.
And you can listen to this in podcast form on iTunes. So anyway, we said it earlier. We're not experts.
Not experts.
We're living right in the middle of it. We have our struggles. We have our issues trying to do the best we can as parents. And the problem with parenting and being a dad is there's really no manual. I've said it like this. There are thousands of books written on parenting, but not one of them is about my kids.
Yeah.
Not a one.
You could read every book on parenting there was and not literally, it really doesn't matter.
And still feel inadequate, still feel like you're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
And maybe some of that we can talk about will help those of you that are watching or listening to just feel a little better about yourself. It's nice to know you're not alone, right?
You're dealing with a unique being with that child.
Yes.
There is no other person in the whole world that's like that child.
Right. And they
everybody's wired differently.
A unique call on their life.
Yep.
God has specific plans for them. And it can be a little daunting, a little overwhelming to know that I'm responsible for this human. Yeah. And this is no disregard to moms out there, but just from biblical precedent, and not just biblical precedent, but psychologists, studies, the data is extensive that a father's role in the life of a child has monumental influence on their soul, on their spirit, on the trajectory of their lives, maybe even more so than a mother. And I think that's part of God's creative design. It's part of the way we're all wired, needing that father figure to be full of affirmation and affection and setting a strong course for us. And so you start thinking about that. I mean, I really believe this. The overwhelming majority of issues that we have in our nation could be solved if we had good fathers.
Good father.
I mean, the statistics show it. It's astronomical. If a father is present, that is an incredible advantage to a person. We talk about, built-in advantages. And of course, in that conversation, you'll talk about race. You'll talk about socioeconomics, poverty or wealth. But maybe the greatest advantage anybody can have is a loving father that is very present in their life. And I know there's some dads watching this that you through divorce, you're not necessarily living under the same roof with your kid, but that doesn't remove you from the equation of possibly being an incredible influence that gives life to your kid. And so all that considered, it's overwhelming. And it's like, I just don't want to mess them up. What would be maybe your biggest struggle or two as a dad, whether that's outwardly or just internal in your thought life?
I mean, you think you hit it. You want them to be successful, and if they're not the thought of what if they're not successful one day, I don't think I would be able to live with myself. If my son didn't pan out, the way. The way that I've envisioned it, or what I want for them.
And we'll talk about that.
I mean, that's a real thing. Like there's two parents in this, me and Brittany, but I feel like when I go to bed at night, like the success of Griffin, it hinges on whether or not I do exactly what I need to be doing or not.
And that's a huge weight to carry. You said it, pan out. Well, how do you define that? We'll talk about that in a little bit. Where their life should go. I mean, that's another pressure point that we'll talk about in a few minutes. I don't know that I can pinpoint my greatest struggle with being a father. I can say that it is my biggest insecurity in life of knowing the weight of it and the responsibility. I'm not insecure about preaching. I'm not insecure about leading. I'm not insecure about the position I'm in or the influence I do or don't have. But being a dad is something that I am just really uncertain of whether I'm doing a good job. And the problem with being a dad is you don't really know if you did a good job or if you're doing a good job or not, because they're not grown. And so you live with this constant, I hope I'm not messing them up. I hope I'm giving them life. I hope my presence in their world is life-giving and not detracting, because on that note, I know my issues.
Yeah.
I know my deficiencies. And I have these big concerns that they will take on the lesser parts of me.
Boy, I tell you what. Yeah, the things I don't like about myself. We've talked about insecurities before. Like, I don't want them to deal with those same things. I want them to, where I fell short, I want them to excel.
Yeah.
I want Griffin to do really, really well in school.
Yeah.
And I feel like, just from a physical standpoint, like if he was to struggle, I'd feel like, well, that was my fault too.
Yeah.
I didn't do what I need to do. But I think thinking, as he's getting older, you know, and he's at Parents' Day out, and he's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's been times where he's struggled in school, just being rough with other kids, or, you know, you pick him up and they say, well, he did this good today, but this right here he didn't do as good. Well, you automatically just start blaming yourself. But just looking back, I know we told stories about our dads, some of the things we aggravated him with, but I remember things that my dad did that were I saw him in his word a lot. You know, I saw him pay for people's groceries at the grocery store that couldn't pay for their own.
Yeah.
You know, before I knew who Jesus was, my dad was the first Jesus I ever saw.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so if I could have like where I struggle, like if I can kind of just put that in my mind, if I could just have those moments where hopefully Griffin sees me do a few good things, maybe he'll latch onto those.
Right.
And run with it.
That the positive influence will far outweigh any potential negatives.
We all have negatives.
Absolutely. None of us are perfect, which
Right.
sounds so cliche, but when you're fathering, it's good to remind yourself that you're not always going to get it right. You're not always going to have the right attitude. You're not always going to say the right thing. You're not always going to make the right decision. And that's not going to necessarily ruin their life.
Right.
You know, it's challenging to consider the weight of being a dad. And so I've tried to boil down my fatherhood into a few objectives.
Yeah.
These are things I want to do. But I do want to backtrack before I get into those, because you said something about your dad being the first Jesus you see, or that you saw. Admittedly, I mean, my dad didn't know Jesus till the end of his life.
Right.
And so I didn't have the privilege or the opportunity to look at him and see faith, you know, that I walked. I mean, my mom and my grandmother are why I'm in the faith. But in God's infinite wisdom, like 42 years old, the negative stuff maybe that was in my dad, the Lord processed and led me through. And I can be standing at Camp Jackson, and it will happen, no doubt. I'll be standing at Camp Jackson in the middle of this summer of camps, and there will be a moment when I'm leading, when I'm in charge and responsible, and I can hear my dad.
Your dad's voice.
Like I can, and not in the spooky, like God, he's talking to me from heaven, but his good traits, the parts of his nature that were incredibly useful for God's plans for me.
The grinding, taking charge mentality.
Yeah, because my dad was an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
he owned his own business. He took it from nothing to being very successful.
Knew how to get the job done.
Yes, and I can see those things, and it's amazing how even though my dad, it took a long time for him to come to Jesus, there were traits buried in him, traits given to him that were passed down to me that God intended for them to come to me. He intended for me to have the dad I had so that he could hardwire me, and I would, through redemption, those would be incredibly useful.
Yeah.
So even if you're a dad and your dad didn't know Jesus, there's still good in him somewhere that is manifesting in you that's beneficial, and that you do well. I'll say this: it's impossible to be a good father if you're bitter at your father.
Yeah,
you got to find healing, but that's a whole nother, man. That's a whole nother.
Well, and I just when you said that, we were talking about your father, like your father finished really well.
Yes, he did.
And I don't know about you, but I could care less about a start, but a good finish is always better than a rocky start.
And I love my dad, and nothing negative to say. I just have realized that even though in the realm of faith we weren't always congruent,
right? There
was stuff in my dad that was made good in me.
Absolutely.
And so I love that about the Lord. I love that about my dad. So anyway, objectives. I've tried to boil down being a dad into these objectives, and I kind of alluded to the first one, because I'm not always going to get it right, because I'm not always going to have the best attitude, because I'm not always going to say the right thing or make the best decision, because at times I'm going to be emotional.
Oh yeah.
At times I'm going to be harsh. And that's a part of my personality that I just want the Lord to continue to refine. Like, I don't want to be a harsh person, but I do have that. I can have that edge, and I don't want that in my kids' lives. I don't want them to feel that from me. But I'm not going to always get it right. So here's my number one objective: be present.
Yeah.
And when I don't get it right, lean into presence. Like, don't retract and beat myself up and feel bad about not getting it right. That's the time to draw near to compensate for the fact that I didn't get it right.
Just be there.
Yeah. So be present, being home as much as possible. I travel and preach on weekends, but I once our kids got to a certain age where they couldn't go on the road with us anymore. All right, I'm not staying in a hotel any more than I have to.
No,
right. I want to tuck my kids in at night every chance I get. I want to take them to school every morning that I can. If they got something going on at school, I'm going to be there. When we're home, if they want me, and I'll even tell my kids this, like, hey, if you just need time with me, if you feel like you just want me, say it. I'll stop whatever I'm doing.
Right.
If you just say, hey, Dad, I want you. Like, I need some time with you. Because presence can compensate for a lot, right?
It can. It's not about everything you get right. Just like they're going to look back on it, and most people are going to they're going to go to some good times, and they're going to think, during the good and the bad, he was there.
Yeah.
And Griffin, he really just now starting to talk, and he was a little later doing that, but sometimes he'll stop and he'll go, Daddy, what are you doing?
Wow.
So he's wanting to know.
Mm-hmm.
He's wanting to know what I'm doing, and I don't know if that's God's way of reminding me, like, always be there, because the child's always going to want to know what the father's doing.
That's good.
And so fatherhood is greater than I ever imagined it could be. And even though you have like tension, like, I want to be a good father, like, I wouldn't trade anything for it. It's
right. They say
absolutely incredible.
They say in sports, the most important ability is availability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if you're a dude that's always injured, it really doesn't matter how talented you are. Like, you're useless.
Right.
And it feels like Dad being a father is like 90% availability.
It is.
Like, being present. Another objective I have is to hold the tension between shaping them and discovering them. And that is a real tension, because we all have ideas. When our kids were born, when our wives were pregnant, and we were waiting for their arrival, we concocted all these ideas of who they were going to be, all the things we were going to do with them. Mm-hmm. And so we had certain ends in mind.
Oh, yeah.
And we do have a responsibility to shape kids. We have a responsibility to be intentional about helping them form their faith, helping them form morals and ethics, helping them form a life of obedience and respect and honor. But at the same time, there is this overwhelming temptation to try to push them into certain areas that you've already envisioned for them. I'm 11 years in now, and I'm coming to the realization that he is not going to be everything I envision.
Just throw the list out.
Right. All of those things I imagine, he's not going to be all of those things. And I can either try to impose my predetermined ideas on him, or I can spend my time discovering him.
Right.
This human being, uniquely knit by God, known, as he was being formed in the womb by the Almighty, discovering the good works God planned for him. And that's hard as a dad because in essence, you are having to let go some.
Yeah.
And say, all right, who are you? And I'm going to do the hard work of discovering you. Right?
Right.
And it's fun. And then once you discover, you got to meet them where they are. You got to meet them in what you discover.
Yeah. Find out, the things that they're good at. They're probably good at them for a reason. The things that they probably love them for a reason.
Right.
They probably, Griffin loves cars. Well, I don't know. I mean, who's to say he wouldn't never be a mechanic one day or something? Yeah. I mean, you just don't know what they're going to become.
Right.
But the thing is whatever they're passionate about, whatever they love now, they're probably going to continue to love it.
Yeah.
And as a dad, I think it's our responsibility to figure out what they love.
Yes.
And just run with them on it, support them in it, and me and Brady would have these discussions. Well, what if he likes this? And it might be something I don't really like. Before we had him, it was like, nah, he ain't doing that.
Right, right.
But now that he's here,
Mm-hmm.
Like Griffin likes to sing. We found out that Griffin really likes to sing. Well, I would have never thought that, Griffin's and I'm not saying he's going to be a singer or a worship leader or nothing like that, but like he hums a lot, and he's he may go that route, or he may have some musical ability. But when they're young, try to let them do as much as possible. But whatever they're really good at, run with them on it.
Right. So I don't know if I can explain this as well as.
And if they're really bad at it, you got to find ways to let them know we're not doing this.
Right. You got to nudge them. So obviously I'm an avid sports person.
Right.
And Kingston, he doesn't really care about it.
Right.
As a father, I have to decide, am I going to be okay with that? Or am I going to push him to like what I like? And in the process, without intentionally doing it, impose upon him boxes that he has to check,
right,
to have my affirmation and approval, without realizing it, imposing upon him shame.
Right.
I told Michelle recently, I feel like one of my biggest dad wins is that Kingston is so comfortable with the idea that I love him. He's so at peace that I affirm him and believe in him, that he doesn't feel the pressure to have to like sports.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't do it, because there's a lot of kids that do things to please their dad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm maybe the biggest thing I'm proud of, is that he is confident enough in how I feel about him that he doesn't feel like he's got to prove himself in that area.
Yes.
I feel like that's a huge win.
Yeah.
Couple more things and then we'll wind it down.
I was just going to say something there
go
with
ahead.
my dad. When I was feeling the call to ministry, my dad's got a business that I could probably easily go and take over if I really, really wanted to and learn those things. And you know what? I could do that and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember riding down the road, and there was a tension there in me, nothing that Dad had never told me that I had to or anything like that. I just didn't want to let him down.
Yeah.
So I was riding down the road one day, and I said, Dad, if I don't fall in line and do this business, because I have other family and friends like, why are you doing this when you could go do that?
Right.
And I'll never forget, my dad told me, he said, you could come do this, but that's not what you're called to do.
Boom.
And I just sat there, and he said, I've known ever since you were a little boy,
yes,
you were supposed to do this. And you're not gonna be fulfilled.
Yeah.
You could make all the money in the world, you're never gonna be fulfilled. I want you as your dad for you to be fulfilled.
Right.
And man,
that set you free.
Well, it took any pressure that I had created for myself, all because my father said,
yeah,
he knew who I was,
right?
Because he was there.
Come on,
because he spent time with me.
He was present, so he knew you.
He was present. Man, I got a great dad.
Man, you do.
I want to be, I'm putting this pressure on myself now. Like, I want to be that dad for my son.
Yeah.
But I would consider that to be a good pressure.
Yes.
How much good can I do?
Right.
In front of Griffin.
Yeah. Yeah. The knowing and being known of father and child.
Yeah.
Like, they have to know me and I have to know them. Well, the only way they can know me is if I allow them to know me. And the only way I can know them is if I push past my preconceived ideas and do the work. Couple more things, and we need to wrap it up so that this doesn't get too long. Another objective I have is to make memories, have traditions, and have inside jokes.
Yeah.
Right? Just to plan fun outings, to have experiences that we can look back on and remember those experiences. And I said at one point, we go to Disney World. Our kids are not going to remember every detail of that trip, but they'll remember how they felt.
Absolutely.
They'll remember how mom and dad made them feel. And that feeling will resonate with them for a long time.
Yeah.
And then just the having traditions, things that you do on repeat that are shared. And then the inside joke thing is just, if you have inside jokes, it means you have had shared experiences.
Absolutely.
And so I want to have enough shared experiences that it's like me and my kids have our own language.
I love a good inside joke.
Right. So I look at inside jokes as like this own secret language. Like, we have a language that's all our own, right? A couple more things, and then I'll hush and let you roll. Have rhythms and be consistent. I especially think that's important and was important for us in the early years of having kids, when our kids were younger. Rhythms, and by that I mean when you wake up, when you go to bed, put them to bed, have a solid bedtime, eat at a consistent time, make choices. And this is hard, especially if you're in ministry, but do the best you can to make choices that prioritize their rhythms over your ministry responsibilities. Right. At times, because you're in the parenting season, you're going to have to say no to some things, or you and your wife go separate ways to do two different things to make sure that you can keep kids in rhythm and keep them in a place of consistency.
Especially with a son and a daughter.
Yes, yeah.
I know we don't have, we have one, but if we ever have a daughter.
Yeah. You have to work for the rhythms, but the reason rhythms and consistency are important is it's healthy for their emotions.
Yep.
It's healthy for their spirit. It's healthy for them mentally to just have some things that are dependent. Like, my kids go to bed at 8:30. They used to go to bed at 8. My kids never complain or gripe about when it's bedtime.
That's what they're used to.
It is so ingrained that, like, this is just what we do. And it's amazing how many battles we've avoided by just consistent rhythms.
And not just spiritually, but physically.
Yes.
Their physical body is used to doing. I hope they go to bed at 8:30 the rest of their life.
Bro, that'd be good.
Because they can.
I ain't counting on it.
Right.
Couple more things.
Griffin goes to bed about 10:30.
Well, he's younger. It's different when they're little.
And gets up at the crack.
No hollow threats and always follow through. That was an objective I've had. Like, if they do something and we tell them there's a consequence, we follow through. If you hollow threat, if you say, I'm going to do this if you do that again, and they do it again and you don't back it up, then you are setting them up to be disobedient.
Yes.
You are training them to not be obedient.
Yes.
You are ingraining in them a bit of defiance. And when I say hollow threats, I don't just mean follow up what you're going to say. Don't make stupid threats.
Right.
Like, I'm going to tear your tail up.
Yeah.
Like, don't make this big old strong threat.
The bottom line is, I'm not going to go in here and tear Griffin up.
I'm going to take all your toys away.
But I might can make him go lay down in his bed.
Right.
And not get to play with his toy.
You're halfway to Disney World.
You're right.
If y'all don't act right, we're turning this car around and going back. You ain't.
You ain't turning the car around.
Lord, no. You done bought the tickets.
You done spent money.
Don't say stupid stuff.
Just
don't say dumb stuff as a parent, right?
Yes.
And so
doable threats.
doable, not dumb stuff that you're never gonna do. Like, it's so dumb. And just always follow through. And then find a good punishment. And that sounds terrible. Find a good punishment. Find a good consequence. That we haven't, like, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this watching this. In the early years, we would spank our kids, a little swat or whatever, when they were at the age where they were not able to really reason and comprehend.
Right.
And all they could comprehend was a quick action.
Yeah.
But as they've gotten older, the spankings quit because we could send them to bed.
Right.
And then have a follow-up conversation. If y'all don't get it together, you're going to your room. They don't get it together, you're going to your room.
Right.
And then we'll follow up with the talk. But that's doable. That's sustainable. Anyway, final thought. My objective is to be spiritual with them early and often. to be spiritual early and often. Early in their young years, I mean, in the womb, singing over them, praying over them, prophesying to them. For them to hear me praying, right now, I know I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm going to give you a final.
I love it.
I pray in the mornings, and my kids, most mornings, one of them is going to get up before I'm done, and they know, like, I'm going to pray until this time, and they will come and sit on the couch with me, and I'll be praying in the Holy Ghost. I'll be praying through scriptures, and they sit with me while I finish, and then they can go do whatever they're going to do. But I want them to see my spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be on full display. And most parents that I'm interacting with, young leaders, they're doing a great job at that.
Oh, yeah.
Just being spiritual as much as possible, having those conversations. So anyway, any final thoughts, Brooks, and we're going to wrap it up.
I think we've pretty much nailed it.
We went a little longer, about 45, 46 minutes.
That's a good subject.
But it's worth the time spent.
It really was. And just, I don't know, just hearing how you do things. I mean, that encourages me as a father. Like, I got some takeaways, when I go, hey man, this would be something good that I can start.
Yeah. I say all of that. Take it with a grain of salt. Cause I got an 11-year-old and 9-year-old. I don't know if I'm doing it right or not. Right.
Right.
I just, where they are at present, this feels like it's working.
Right.
I mean, we hadn't hit the teen years yet.
I just want my kids to love people.
Yes. Well, and they will, because you do.
Well,
and you love your son, and you are good at loving your son, and love wins.
That's it.
Love overcomes all our deficiencies, and I'm proud of you, Brooks.
Yeah,
you're a good dad.
Well, you're a great father, a model father.
Well, like I said, I'm not in the teen years yet. I spent all these years working with teenagers, and before I had kids, I thought, I'm going to know how to deal with a teenager. Kingston went to his first youth service this weekend.
Lost his mind, didn't he?
Oh, he loved it. I mean, he had shaving cream from head to toe because they had a big shaving cream war. But I'm standing in the back of the room now as a dad in a youth service thinking,
oh, no.
I'm that
guy.
All that stuff I thought I knew, I ain't ready. So
I haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
But it's coming.
Well, here's one final note of encouragement. Wherever you are on the fatherhood spectrum, it's not too late. It's not too late to make adjustments, and maybe more than that, just quit beating yourself up. Be present, be available, be loving.
Finish each day.
Yeah. So anyway, we love you. Brooks, would you pray over the fathers that are watching or listening right now?
Yeah, dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for all the fathers that are watching today, God, and the rich, the poor, the whoever that's watching this, whatever economic class they are. It doesn't matter what they have or they don't have. It's in us to be a good father. God, in a world where there's a lot of dads and very few fathers, God, I just pray that we would love our kids. And even for the ones who don't physically have kids, you're still a father. And you may be watching this today, and the ones that go to your church or the ones that, your friends' kids, you're another father to them. And so just be good. Do everything that you need to do. Do what you say and say what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But love the Lord first. And if you love the Lord first, everything else will fall into place. So we just speak that over you today. And we hope you have a great day and days ahead. And we pray it and ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen. So one final thing, you can follow Brooks on Instagram at AusTILL. You can find him on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Jeremy AusTILL. My YouTube channel titled Jeremy AusTILL. Go there and you can watch these episodes. Thank you for joining us.